Mr. George, it's time for your turn in the sun. Hi, everybody. I've been a busy man over here. I got a 2-pill LD MOS box. It's like this close to being done. I broke a tap off in the heatsink last night as I was getting ready to mount down the last MOSFET, so I have to pull the heatsink out, put a new one in, re-drill it, remount it. I'm planning on doing that tomorrow. So I got a MOSFET box getting ready to come out. It's a brand new production box. And then, let's see. I started on a 2x8 that's going to marry up with that 48 pill. We got the power supply done, the 1000 amp power supply. You guys all seen that the other day on the other video. But in the interim, I've been slowly but surely trying to trickle out a few of these repairs because I'm going to get buried if I don't. I could show you the shelving units as they're sitting behind me. They're absolutely covered up. I got a lot of work again. I want to say thank you guys for continuing to support the cause. So this is one of these things. We're going to do 3 amps here. A little Palomar 250 and LA 900. And we're going to start off with a single pill Dave made. Mr. George sent me up a little note. Literally put notes on all the boxes, which I love that. Like little reference guides. He said the variable was iffy on this. I found that not to be the case, that the variable wasn't the problem. George, 100% of your problem, buddy. Turned out to be this relay. This is a modified, this isn't what came in this amp. Somebody put this in there and kind of made it work. And we have these little tiny pieces of Teflon wire that were mounted up to this post here and this post here. Now, what we discovered, George, is that the Teflon here was torqued against the tabs going up. So the little electromagnetic coil that fires, that closes the relay, causes the relay to open close, couldn't overcome that torque pressure of the wire. So, well, I can unsolder this and put the wire on there. So I did that. I unsoldered the wire, and then it stayed latched most of the time. So on the second attempt, I went, nope, this thing's got to go out, go right down there in a filing cabinet. We're going to get rid of it. So what we did is we put a brand new relay in it. The other thing I found is instead of having a little diode down in here on the key-in circuit, they had a little resistor going across here, which made you have to key this thing at a very high wattage, like 2 or 3 watts instead of 1 watt or a half a watt, and it was causing it not wanting to latch up. So the variable's nice and smooth. The input circuit on this, believe it or not, I didn't have to change it. Now the output circuit, on the other hand, they had this part in there, which was 180 puff. And I couldn't get the thing to do more than about 110 watts. So I went ahead and I replaced that with a 150. And it come right down. Laid right down. Got all super happy and glad. So here is, oh, and yeah, I had to move this coax that's in here back here. So I changed the keying circuit completely, changed the output tune, and added a new relay to it, George. So let's go ahead and run around the band here real quick. This is not going to change, by the way. We're going to use the 2950, and at each amp we're going to alternate back and go to the D-rail radio. As you guys can see, I'm getting my bracket so I can mount it right here underneath my 955. I'm still waiting on Brian Smith to get me that bird meter. Come on, Brian. You let me down, bro. Come on. I guess in all fairness, I got to say that I didn't tell him I needed a bird meter until this last weekend. So when I get the bird meter, I'm going to mount that up there, and we'll have that as a reference. And then I get to add yet another mic holder up here for yet another microphone. Ooh, yay me. All right, 1000 watt slug in PEP on this one, of course. 1000 watt slug in average, of course, and 5 watt slug in reverse from the Bird 10,000 watt. Let me load. Full amp gauge, and we're hooked up on the 14 volt flat supply. So let me show you some drive. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. About 20 watts and hello, about 7 or 8 bird. Very low drive. Hello. It's not happy with me. Turn the dead key up a little bit. What do you think? There we go. Let's see what it's keying in and out at. 1 watt. Latching up at a 1 watt dead key. All right. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. So we're seeing about 30 bird. Hello, audio. About 100, 110 watts. 120 watts of peak envelope power. So let's hook up old Frankenstein here. The derail radio. I've been busy, you guys. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Turn a little derail radio on. Let me show you drive with the derail radio. Get that established for the next 2 bits of this video. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Nice solid 10 bird, 12 bird. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Picked up 10 peak watts. Hello, audio. And picked up a nice 20 bird. So George, this thing's working beautifully. Well, let me switch back. I skipped a step. God dang, BBI. I'm out of practice. I haven't done this for a couple weeks. Been off dealing with family stuff. Yay, family stuff. Fun. Alright. I want to show you this. Beautiful input tune. And like I said, the knob is working flawlessly. So, on that note, we're going to set this one aside, but then we're going to hook this one up, but then we're going to use that one to drive that one here in a minute. So give me just a second. Okay, Mr. George, here's amp number 2. This is your Messenger M250. This has got Toshibas in it, 2879s. Now, this box is nowhere near stock. And it came in here nowhere near stock. It had the stock relay board pulled out. The stock bias had been removed. None of the turns in the transformers were stock. They basically chopped this thing and turned it into a Class C monster. And the problem was they didn't have the input tune correct, nor did they have the output tune correct. They didn't even have the capacitance over the input transformer correct. So we got all that figured out. New output tuning capacitor with a bigger kVA than this one here. Put a 140 in there. We dropped the capacitance over the input transformer down to 270, which then helped the input tune to drop. And then I changed the input capacitor, which is down here, from a 270 to a 180. And then I'm not too sure what this is. I don't know if this is 75 ohm coax or actual 50 ohm coax. I don't know. This is what they had going from the relay to the input of the 2-pill section. I ended up just using a piece of wire. It tuned in way better with a piece of wire. This straight 100 ohm, for some reason, it did not like having this in there. I don't know if the coax is bad or not. I haven't bothered to ring it. I don't really care. I just identified the problem. They had the wrong number of turns in the input transformer. And the other thing is they didn't have Teflon wire. So this looks like Teflon, feels like Teflon, but when you touch it with your soldering iron, it burns, which means it's not Teflon. So anyhow, I went through and I replaced everything in the box. It's now got all Teflon wire in it, which is really important for safety reasons. Especially not limited to the output transformer. If you don't have Teflon wire in your output transformer, which gets very hot, wire like this that melts at about 180 degrees can short out, causing an electrical short, and burn all your shit to the ground. So I made it safe. The other thing is I went and I added my version of bias to it, because I figured, what's the point of digging around and getting the stock resistors and finding a stock diode and then building the whole board back up. I just went ahead and added a second relay, put some chokes in there, added a capacitor to, or the resistor to it, added a diode to it for a load reference, and now you got 380 mils worth of voltage. on the input transformer. So now it's perfectly biased class B. Your sideband switch now does work. You've got a very nice sideband delay, which is very subtle. Of course, the preamp, like I discussed with you on the phone, George, I don't do those. I think preamps are stupid, especially the preamps that are in most amplifiers. Not all, but some. Let me talk about that for a second. Preamps, they would go right here in this portion of the circuit. A little bus bar, you'd remove that and you have two wires that go off. And they go over to the absolute cheapest amplification transistor somebody can find that usually rectifies more noise than signal that you're actually trying to hear. If you want a good preamp, there's lots and lots of companies that make those that are external. Let me explain to you why external is important. Because 100% of the signal that passes through this amplifier has got to go through that shitty little circuit that's going to be in there bouncing around because it's not mounted down to a board. If that board, if the circuit breaks, you can't hear anything. Period. So then your couple $100 amplifier now becomes a paperweight. Stupid. Stupid. The other thing they had going on was the input capacitor, instead of being something low like 10 puff, ended up being, believe it or not, a 65. I don't know why the person that built this thing before me put a 65 puff capacitor on there, but it screwed up your input tune. It made your pass-through tune where you're talking through the box into an antenna. You'd have that extra 65 puff go underground, which totally screws up your tuning. Screws up your input tuning, screws up your pass-through tuning. So we went ahead and made this right. So now this is 10, which is what it should be. And let's see, what else do we do? George is a big fan, and as he puts it, first time caller, long time listener, I guess would be the best way to put it. He said, I seen an M800 that you did where you built a little foot pedestal for it and put fans on it. Can you do that with mine? Well, George, you ask, and you have now received. That is a big-ass fan for this little tiny box. You're not going to be able to get this thing hot enough that anybody's ever going to be able to notice that it's even warm. It's designed now to sit just like this on its side. It's like this resistor is glued to the transformer, so it can't wiggle its way loose, because here's the lid that we built for it, George. The last and final thing that I did was I couldn't stand the power wires in this thing. Let me show you why. Now, this was their insulator. I don't know what this is, but I couldn't clear conscience let this power wire stay inside this box anymore. Since you had whoever work on this, they've developed this mind-numbing technology. It's new. It's brand new. I'm going to throw that wire away. It's brand new. It's called a grommet. It's made of rubber. It's designed to be put in a wear position to where you're going to want to insulate some wires, let's say, from a sharp abrasive edge of something hard like this. This is called aluminum. This new technology is mind-blowing. I think it's going to be revolutionary. It's going to change the game. I'm being sarcastic at the moment, by the way, you guys. I went ahead and I put a grommet in here and I replaced your power wires for you, George. We got this running also over to the 12-volt section. Now, our RF is going from our 2950. It's coming down through, going through our little one pill. We're driving that into the 250, but the one pill is off at the moment, so we're going to just pass right on by it. Because this initially, or finally, is going to be the setup. That amplifier driving this amplifier. Got it going straight through and going out to the antenna and the dummy load and so on and so on and so on. So let me put the tin on this thing real quick and we'll do the test. It moves a lot of air, but it's still relatively quiet. 2950 directly into the 2-pill. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, audio. Which is beautiful. That's beautiful, by the way. That is falling back like that. It's beautiful. So, George, we got 3-foot jumpers going on everything here. It's real important. That number, 3, 6, 9, 12. Real important number, by the way, you guys. So we're seeing about 400 PEP. Hello, audio. Hello, audio, hello. And about 100 bird. Remember, that's with about 7, 8 bird hitting it, doing maybe about 20 watts. Let's turn on our Dave Made 1 pill. Hello, audio. All right. Hello, audio. About 500 PEP. Hello, audio, audio. And about 200 bird. And without shutting the camera off here. Three-foot jumper. That was a totally mess with your input tuning. Okay. So we're going to hook up the Wolfman CB Shop Cobra 29. Dead key in 1 watt into the 1 pill, into the 2 pill. Hello, audio. Let's back that down a little bit. That's already done on the basement. No, it's not. There we go. Hello. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Still getting our 500, but we picked up 100 watts in average power. Hello, audio. Remember, it barely go to 200 before. Just saying. All right, guys. George, this thing's done. We gave you 4 countersunk little mounting screws for this. We went ahead and wire brushed this so it looks pretty. New power wire, completely rewired the inside of it for you. Working good, talking good, running good. Let's hook up this little guy. We'll be back. Now, George, this is your TX800. I've modified it now. It does a little bit more than 800 watts. But the TX800 I always thought was the most amazing little amplifier to me when I was a kid. Okay. Now let's hop in the time machine. All right. We're going to go back to a 17, 18-year-old kid, 21, 22 years ago. And up until then, if you wanted horsepower, you were kind of stuck with the Texas Star, Messenger, Palomar, School of Life. Okay? And it wasn't until after these came out that the Dave Made X-Force thing kind of came along, and it was, I can't remember who came first, if it was Dave Made or Skullcracker, or that whole generation of the aftermarket commercial amplifier thing kind of took off. I remember I opened one of these up and I thought, man, this is a small little package, because you look at like a Sweet 16 that did like 15, 1600 watts, and then to be able to get from half the devices more than half the power output. I remember going, wow, this is cool. And then I looked down in here and seen how everything was stacked up on the inside of this puppy and went, wow. You know, it's the first time I'd seen a 4-to-1 combiner this big. And, I mean, these boxes have their shortcomings in their same breath. That was even apparent to me as a kid, but this still is an amazing little amp. I love the fact that they all came with fan kits on them for the most part. And I love how compact they are, but man, they can really put out the power. The transistors that are in this amp, there's 4 Toshibas getting driven by 1, 2290, are older than me, from what I was told. I mean, they got thermal protection built into them. They've got everything. I mean, they got on, off, preamp, amp. Now, he wanted me to do a remote switch, and I said, well, the only way I can do a remote plug is because the back portion of this amplifier is pretty cluttered. was to bring it out the side, because remember, this doesn't sit upright like this. It sits on its lid just like this, okay? The only place to actually take the remote plug out would be out the front of the amp. And he said he didn't want to deal with that. He said that it would take away from the amplifier, and I agreed. I totally agreed. The reason this came here was because the driver had been bypassed in it, which they did a shitty job of doing that. They didn't bother to check the input tune and add some capacitance to it. Once again, they used that really shitty, like 75 ohm coax, which we took out completely. They had a jumper that came in from back here and ran around and went over down in here, and then they did a shitty job of soldering it even at that, to where when I lifted the coax out, there was so much solder down in that fucking mess. Anyhow, we got down in there and cleaned that all out. And the other thing, he said he didn't want to have the high, medium, and low switch. He wanted to have that disabled. Okay. So the high, medium, and low circuit, the RF comes in, goes through the relay, comes out, goes across the trace, and it ends up over here. And there's different resistors that go to ground. Okay. This is the high portion, so it is directly bypassed. Okay. The low or the medium portion would come back to this position. So this thing is permanently put in high mode, which is exactly what you wanted, brother. And the 2290 has now been hooked back up. Originally, when the guy modified it originally for George, he just cut the wire and then put some electrical tape on it. So I had to extend the wire down so it'd make it down to the solder pad on the board. Because here's the solder pad for the positive rail, then it takes off and it goes over to the transistor here through this choke. So now in the later models of these, they had a big filtration choke that sat up here on top. So the positive wires would come in and go through that. That's been done away with, and now it's just been replaced with these little ferrite beads. But it still works. And then I polished the input, and of course I polished the output. And the other thing he wanted me to do was fix the keying transistor, or the receive, the preamp. The transistor's good. What it ended up being was dirty relays. Once again, I hate preamps. This one little thing fails, everything fails. And this turns into a paperweight. Now he could still use it because of the elegance of its design, but preamp's working, and now the LED indicator's working. It was not when it came in here, so we've got that all fixed. Let's go ahead and turn this on. We're going to put it in AM mode. Watch this, George. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. 900, about 980 watts. Hello, audio. About 300 watts bird. Hello, audio. Nothing coming back. Hello, 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 hello. That is your input tune. That's unkeyed. Hello, 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 hello. That's keyed. Hello. Let's see if I bust this way back, we can see all the meters at once here. Hello. Amazing little box. Amazing little box. So shut that down for a second. Let's come around here. Oh, wrong connector. Wrong connector. Remember, Luke, it's designed to sit on its lid. Okay. we got the Goliath audio monster hooked up now. Watch this. 580 bird. Remember, the peak meter's here in the RF and the mic. What's going on here? There we go. It's a running. $980 watt, 1,000 watt, 4-pill. Straight out of the 1990s, late 80s. Wonderful boxes. Beautiful things that come out of California from time to time, I was going to say. And 580 to 600 watts average power, which I think is pretty cool. George, you're done, bud. I'm going to put the lid on this one, and it's probably going to head home to you tomorrow. Gentlemen, my name is BBI, and without a shadow of a doubt, I'm the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out, www.bbiamps.com. Come find me on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'd like to have you follow along with me if you want to. Vader's getting an upgrade, you guys. And I don't know if Vader's going to stay Vader or if it's going to get turned into the Death Star. I don't know. But there'll be a video to follow on that here in the next couple months. Alright guys, I'm out of here. On to the next one. I'm going to go back to work on the MOSFET box the rest this evening. So, John, I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate you sending these things up and giving me the opportunity to take a quick look at them, get them all worked out for you. It's been fun. I'm out. Peace, guys. We'll see ya. Bye.